Hello everyone, it's Ron Bell again, and here we are at the Ralph Klein Natural Playground Park within the Ralph Klein Reserve. And it's a beautiful day here, enjoying all the water and grasses and everything that's here at Ralph Klein Park. And Mark and I are going to have some discussions about budgets and the economy and how things are all tied together. Here comes Mark. Hey Mark Mantei, here we are at Ralph Klein Park.
Yeah, what a beautiful location. Today we're going to be talking about deficits and debt, so I couldn't think of a better location than to do it than right here in beautiful Ralph Klein Park.
And of course, Ralph is very famous for eliminating a deficit and going on to eliminating a massive debt and then going on to leading Alberta to prosperity. Many of his critics at the time said that Ralph didn't care about people, he didn't care about Albertans. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the critics have it entirely backwards. It's because Ralph cared deeply about the people of Alberta that he felt it was so important to look after the government's finances. Ensuring that we were deficit and debt free meant that we could build things that we otherwise couldn't. It meant that we could continue to look after Albertans that needed it most rather than spending those dollars on debt servicing costs.
Wow, and following Ralph Klein, further Alberta Conservative premiers fell into the trap of deficits and debt. What happened there? How did it go so wrong?
Yeah, it did go pretty wrong, didn't it? Ralph left us with about $36 billion in net assets, and when he left, and after that we had it was politically expedient, some premiers found, to just paper over the problems that existed in Alberta because the dollars were there rather than actually looking after things, and it's left us in a very poor fiscal position. We were spending our contingency funds when oil was at $100 a barrel. It's absolutely craziness.
So, something near and dear to Albertans' hearts is getting good value for our money. We are good shoppers, but we are not getting good value for our Alberta tax dollars. What do you think about that?
Yeah, we talked about the previous governments prior to the NDP, and when the NDP took over, we were spending 20% more than BC and 30% more than Ontario to provide services to Albertans. Obviously the NDP has done us no favors in that regard, and it's now gotten more expensive. We're now spending 30% more than BC and 40% more than Ontario to provide services to Albertans, and so they've just put this on overdrive and continued to accumulate large deficits. It's projected to be, I believe, $7.8 billion this year, with an accumulated debt somewhere in the neighborhood of $43 billion. They've just continued to ensure that Albertans' future is going to be saddled with larger and larger shares of debt.
So the NDP themselves have said that by 2022, 2023, we could have an accumulated debt of $96 billion. What the heck would Alberta look like at that point, and what would it take to get out of it?
Yeah, this is why we can't trust the NDP with Alberta's finances. Their plan to balance the budget will not happen until 23-24, when we've accumulated $96 billion in debt.
So what will your government do to get us through this financial position that we're in right now?
Yeah, well, we're going to have to tackle this, and it's going to be a big job. Certainly, like I said, the NDP has not left us in a very good position. So what we're going to have to do is look at the places that the NDP has prioritized ideology over good financial decision making. If you remember just a couple years back to the time when we were looking at privatizing laundry services for AHS, and the NDP decided to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to keep those as government jobs rather than private sector jobs. So it cost us all a lot of money, and at the end of the day added more and more dollars to our debt.
I think our debt servicing is at about $1.4 billion right now. Put that in perspective for us.
Yeah, well, there's even just recently, former NDP finance minister from Saskatchewan, said that Alberta is on the path to a budget crisis. It's really sad that the NDP doesn't even listen to their own members when they're warning about the dangers of the path that the NDP is taking us down. we are going to have to make sure that we tackle this and tackle it in a positive way that doesn't hurt Albertans. We still need to provide services to Albertans, excellent health care and education, for instance, but to do it in a more fiscally responsible way. And that means making sure that the massive amounts of government bureaucrats and administrators that the NDP has hired that don't provide value to Albertans, but do suck up greater and greater shares of dollars. We're going to have to make sure that we're forcing dollars back down to the frontline services and utilize dollars much more efficiently in this province moving forward.
So if we had that $1.4 billion that we're spending on debt service and we applied it to something important like education, how could that impact education?
Well, thanks for asking that, Ron. You look at the amount that the NDP government is spending in debt servicing this year. We could hire another 18,000 teachers for that. In a province that we only have 39,000 teachers right now, those numbers are just mind-boggling. So if you think of all of the things that we could do with the $1.4 billion, next year it's going to be $2.3 billion in debt servicing. We could be providing a lot more services for Albertans and doing it in a way that ensures that Albertans are getting excellent value for their tax dollars.
So Mark, this is financial insanity that we are in Alberta right now. We have to put an end to this, and I think we have an opportunity, but time is short. Like it's only 48 hours left to buy a membership in Calgary Shaw to support Mark Mantei and make him our nominated candidate to go to the legislature and stand up for our beliefs, for our families in the Alberta legislature. So could you tell us more about the short time frame we have for a nomination and getting a membership?
Yeah, so we do have dates and timelines now for this nomination contest. We're going to be voting on October the 20th, but you need to have your membership 3 weeks in advance of that. So September 28th is going to be the cutoff for membership sales to be able to vote in this nomination, and that's coming up this Friday. So it's right around the corner. Really important that you get to it now. But that said, Ron, I'm really excited for October 21st, where we can move on to the next phase of this. I'm putting Graham Sucha on notice. He can start packing his bags now. We're going to make sure that we win this riding back to the Conservative fold come the spring election. And so really excited to be moving on that front rather than this nomination run.
Mark, you're making me optimistic here, and thank you so much for today.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all the people in Calgary Shaw. I appreciate your support in this upcoming nomination.
You're going to go visit them at the doors?
We're going to go door knocking. We've got a few more days of membership sales, and so we'll be talking to as many people as we can over the next few days and in the days following to ensure that we move this on to the next phase, Ron. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.